Welcome back to The V. Our guest today is Ebony Howard from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Welcome, Ms. Howard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We have a prison system in Alabama that is broken. But one of the dark, dark secrets about our criminal justice system is the way our children in Alabama are being treated. You specialize in that field of juvenile justice. Can you share with us from your experience and your research what is going on in our state?
Certainly, Bill. In Alabama, children as young as 14 years old can be charged and convicted as adults and housed in adult facilities. And what happens to these children when they're in these facilities, when they're in the system, will cause harm to them that we can't fathom. We know that youth who are held in adult facilities are far more likely to be sexually assaulted and physically abused. They are 36% times more likely to commit suicide. We know that when they do get out of prison, of the jails that they are housed in, they are 34% more times likely to re-offend than other kids who are held in juvenile facilities. And that's just the stats.
Right.
We know that from our talking with youth, we know of kids who are forced into having sex with older inmates just to get food. We know of youth who have witnessed people being raped, who have been raped themselves, who have endured psychological trauma that will forever change them. And we do this to our kids. About 1,000 kids every year are charged as adults in Alabama. And we do this to them on the assumption that we can't fix them, that they have engaged in some type of activity that means that we have to throw them away. And that's the furthest from the truth.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's this misconception that youth who are in the adult system commit heinous crimes. That's not actually true. Our research has shown that these aren't kids who are engaging in rape or sodomy or they're not killing people. Usually what is happening is they have some type of social factor that affects their behavior. And we've learned that the issue is that adolescents, their brains aren't fully formed, and so they don't know how to manage risk. They don't know how to use the part of their brains that tells them don't do certain things. And so they make mistakes. And then we take them and we throw them away, even though if given the appropriate services, we could help them change.
So what you're telling me is that in Alabama, we send children as young as 14 into adult facilities. I mean, how does this happen? I mean, how did we get here?
You know, the way that we got here is that in the 1990s, there was this theory, the super predator theory. There was this theory that was said that there would rise up a large group of young people, mostly African-American young boys, who would terrorize the country, who would go not only into urban neighborhoods, but God forbid, suburban neighborhoods, and would commit crime and do all kinds of horrible things. And so as a result, states started to make laws that were really harsh on children, that called for them to be pushed out of the juvenile system and into the adult system. The problem with the super predator theory is that it never actually came to fruition.
Right.
Like it never happened. Juvenile crime has actually been on a decline over the past 20 years. And so even though we don't have this output from this theory, we have these laws that is dealing with kids in a way that's going to forever harm them and ultimately ourselves as a community.
Right. I mean, it does have to totally affect the community when you charge its children, doesn't it? I mean,
it does. It does. It says something about how we value adolescence and childhood. You know, I always thought that we need to nurture our kids. We need to love them, and we need to teach them the right way to be as a citizen. while holding them accountable for their actions, right? We don't throw them away.
Right.
And so what we know, though, is that when we put them in this system, they will get out, because usually the crimes that they're charged with have a sentence here in Alabama of no more than 5 years. When they get out, they will have learned all kinds of bad habits.
Right.
They will have tried to survive, and they will have learned how to survive, and they will come home to our communities, and they will not know how to be productive citizens.
Well, to me, I mean, to think about the horror that could be enacted on a young man in prison at 14, 15, 16 years of age, they'll never recover from that. I mean, without extensive help. We've got about 2 minutes left.
Sure.
If we're not charging them as adults, as we're doing now, then how should the system work? How should we charge these teenagers who commit crimes?
Definitely. So there's a difference between the juvenile system and the adult system. In our juvenile system, we focus on keeping kids accountable for their actions while at the same time giving them services that they need for corrective conduct. And that's what needs to happen to these youth. They are young enough that if they are given the appropriate services, their negative behaviors can change. And so our juvenile system is really good at doing that, and that's where these kids need to be.
We've got about 1 minute left. What do you say to people who have this lock them up and throw away the key mentality in a state that says every human life has value?
Right.
Do these human lives have no value?
Of course not. Of course not. These are our babies. Like, these are our children. And what I would say to anyone who says that is that you need to remember that this could happen to your child too. And so children can change, and all children belong to all of us.
Well, I want to thank you for the work you do, and thank you for being our guest today. Our guest today has been Ebony.